Hi guys, I'm doing a new kind of video now. One of my loyal subscribers asked me what I thought of the new servants and if I was going to make a video about it. So instead of spending 10 plus minutes typing out a glorified excuse to not make another video, I'm going to make a new video. This isn't going to be a massive review project like the ones that I do for NA releases. These servants are new, so no one is an expert on them. Today I'll do a first impressions video for Kriemhild. We'll start with a quick run through of half and half's kit and stats, then talk a little bit about strategization and synergy, the usual discussion, just whatever I believe is relevant. Lastly, I'll top it off with a bit of gameplay. One of the most important parts of learning about a thing is putting it into practice. These will all be timestamped for the convenience of the viewer. Let's start from the top. Max attack stat is 10.4k, which is pretty good for a 4-star berserker. HP generally doesn't matter. NP gain at base is decent. A 1.59% on an arts card for a servant with a saber deck and an arts NP is about average. For those that are unaware, a saber deck is a buster arts deck. 2 buster, 2 arts. It's because almost every day 1 saber had this deck. Hit counts are decent, nothing amazing for Sergeant, but she is an art servant, so you're already planning around 0-star gen. Also, an NP gain guide is in the works. It's one of those things everyone is inconsistent about, so I would like to help people learn how to judge numbers for themselves. I've seen multiple YouTubers on numerous occasions be very inconsistent in their assessment of NP gain, and it causes a lot of confusion, so I'd like to make that information a lot more accessible. Skill 1 is an AoE NP drain, defense debuff, and crit rate debuff. The first two are pretty general purpose, and the last effect is great for her. Berserkers are very susceptible to dying instantly due to crits, and having some way of circumventing that is very nice. Enemies each have a set base crit chance, independent of buffs and debuffs. Most enemies have a maximum of 20% chance at base. A common misconception about crit rate debuffs is that the percentage is multiplicative to the actual crit rate. For example, Kiyohime applying a 10% decrease reduces an enemy's 20% by 2%. This isn't how it works. 20% crit chance debuffs are capable of preventing most enemies from critting without buffs. 30% is a guarantee. That's why Berserker Third max at 30%. The highest possible passive that you can have without any crit rate buffs is 30%. Skill 2 is damage. They seem to really like Buster Arts combo skills these days. This is good for her because it's a 30% damage increase for everything in her kit except her quick card, which she probably won't use anyways. It's really nice for her NP game. It pushes her arts cards above 2% while active. 2% for 2 art cards is really nice. On top of this, she gets a 50% power mod versus chaotic enemies. By the way, there are a lot of chaotic servants. Skill 3 is battery. Yeah, I know, battery is boring. She has a 50% battery. It's also attached to a 3k heal and a targetable taunt. The taunt is really awesome to me because one of the best ways to protect a berserker is with taunt. The heal, it's okay. Berserkers get less out of healing than most since their health bars are effectively halved 100% of the time. 50% battery is interesting because of how few berserkers have that level of battery. The only other 4-star berserkers with that kind of battery are Penthesilea and Kriemhild, who each have 60% split across 3 turns. The only other single target berserker with that level of battery is Kentoki, unless you count Salome's delayed battery for some reason. This means she can be a good raid boss killer, depending on a few things. Before we talk about that, let's talk her NP. Single target, arts, 4 hits. Sorry if you wanted her NP to be the third coming of Vlad's NP. Removes defensive buffs before damage. 50% more damage versus dragons. 20+% arts resist debuff for 3 turns after damage. All around, excellent NP. At NP1, without chaotic or dragon, she hits the average 4-star single target berserker damage of 40,000 at neutral. Each niche adds a multiplicative 50% damage bonus. With one niche, Hot Topic hits pretty much just as hard as Kentoki at matching NP levels. It's pretty nice. Not having to worry about invuln or defensive buffs is also very nice. Anyways, enough about the servant. What do I think? I think she's great. She doesn't seem like a particularly creative creation, but everything in her kit works pretty well for a berserker. It's pretty clear that they made her for arts meta, since she covers a lot of bases that a lot of art supports don't, like crit debuffs, taunt, and defensive buff removal. NP drain is great if you like using stronger stuff like Tamamo or Waver. It's great for Castoria too, since it gives her extra time to get her versatile hard survival back. While we're at it, can I talk about her synergy with Castoria real quick? Let's set a scenario. Black Rail on Goth GF. Castoria uses all of her buffs on her. So now she has Invuln and an NP game buff. Now she uses all of her skills and taunts herself. She's safe that turn because of the Invuln. She NPs, breaks a bar or something, and the enemy attacks her and she gets her NP from being hit. Remember, she is a berserker. By default, berserkers get 5% per hit. Increase that by 30% and you get about 7% per hit. You're likely to use her against a chaotic enemy, which is a servant. Normal enemies can't have alignments, and servants typically have higher hit counts than the average trash mob. It's very easy to loop with less reliance on cards or battery. Of course, there is the other use of the taunt, which is probably what most people think of with this. Taunt someone to cycle them out. It's a great way of controlling damage flow, and it's why I like using Chen Gong with berserkers a lot. His taunt, defense buff, and crit debuff go a long way in helping berserkers live longer. Kriemhild happens to have several of these in her own kit, which is fantastic. It makes her very flexible. The only real downsides to her that I see are a lack of actual self-survival options outside of Scapegoat with extra steps and heal, as well as a complete lack of crit options. Even if it was just a little evade one time tacked onto her second skill, that would be great for dealing with AoE enemies. The lack of crit capacity doesn't matter that much because her thing is NP spam, but having some more options would be nice. I guess Mozart is our guy once again. Without further ado, let's throw her into a couple quests to see how she does. Just a little clarification as to why she is only 70. Yeah. 210 brand new bronze mats for everything. If they were in the Pure Prism shop, I would have her 80, 810, but right now we'll just have to make do with a high level CE. Let's get into it.
神の加護が宿るものさ。出直していらっしゃい。
Alright, so getting her to do a lot of damage in niche is pretty easy. Kiyohime is a chaotic dragon. Everything I use to make her do that damage is very easily accessible for everyone. Let's use her in a significantly harder fight where she can't just win instantly.
待ち焦がれていたわ。
自爆しかありますまい。さて、どのバッハがお好みかな。そこは
了解。殺すわね。
デクレッシェンド。女神の加護が宿るものさ。さて、どのバッハがお好みかな。出直していらっしゃい。
ほんと死ににくくて嫌になるわね。
根性なく。
汝の力は我が呪いの重責な
り。やっておしまいなさい。
殺すわね。
デクレッシェンド。女神のでは行くぞ。呵責なくいいでしょう。
了解。
やっておしまいなさい。これでどうか。まさか私が。では行くぞ。これでどうか。加減なく温情なくやっておしまいなさい。かかる火の本見せますのみ。かけろ目にあり。我が剣の栄誉にかけて。
殺すわね。
汝はリン、罪あり。アスカロン。
最悪に正しいわ。
そして命の価値に区別なく炸裂するは聞かずに必要な犠牲でした。
死ね。
マスター、もう
大丈夫？痛いとこない？なんでこんな悲しい。 切るわ。邪悪なる竜は地を張る。我が憎悪は炎のごとく。バルムンククリームヒルト。最悪に楽しいわ。
Another fight she did pretty great on. She's a near perfect match for the fight, with her taunt, anti-chaotic damage, defensive buff removal, and also the fact that she does bonus damage because she's a berserker. In conclusion, 9 out of 10. She adds something new and interesting to the Berserker class, and I look forward to using her more in the future as soon as I get her ridiculously high amount of mats that she requires. So this video turned out a little longer than I expected. If you enjoyed, feel free to like the video, and if you haven't already, subscribe. If you really liked this video and have a couple dollars to spare, hit up my Patreon. Lastly, we have a Discord server now. Join and say hello. Peace.